Hurry, hurry, step right up, folks. Don't be afraid. And feast your eyes on the 8th marvel of the world, Giganta. Okay, so I now have a much greater appreciation for the guys who worked on Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, as well as anybody who puts together a half-decent stop-motion video. Because let me tell you, it's pretty tough. I mean, it's a lot of tiny motions, and mine probably looked a bit terrible, but this is actually my second shoot for this review. The first time I was just so overwhelmingly negative. I figured, I can't even upload this. I mean, there wasn't like any real quality to it, but I'm just redoing it completely, except for the opening stop motion, because I'm not gonna do that again. But first off, the figure's legs, just at least mine. I know I've heard J Train also commented on it, but the legs just kind of are really loose. I mean, shoot, I guess probably kind of ball joint underneath the loincloth. I didn't assemble this one myself, so I'm not sure what's under there. Actually, it sounds like a little, yeah, it sounds a little bit dirty, but I'm not even going to get into that. But in order for the figure to really stand properly, the one base won't cut it. Just the weight distribution is so weird that you'll probably need 2 bases to do it. One for each foot, especially because this one only has like 1 peg on the base for some reason. I don't know why that is, but first off, I paid $60 for the win, $10 shipping and handling on this, and for the same $70, I've gotten things like the Sentinel. So in terms of a bargain, it's really not here. I mean, if you can find all 6 or 7 figures from this wave in stores, and just get all the figures and then assemble the Giganta, it's a bargain, because she is pretty tall for a Collect&Connect. She's 10 inches tall when you actually have her up at full height, but in terms of Build-A-Figure heights, Sentinel's 16 inches, and most of the other ones are just so much taller than her. So, all in all, I don't really like this figure. I mean, it's one of the Collect&Connects that I was most looking at. Her, Metallo, Gorilla Grodd. I think those were the 3 biggest, but the quality just really isn't there. And there's nice detailing on the hair, nice patterning and so forth on the animal cloths there, because you've got the little indents and stuff to designate hair, and then you've got a nice amount of paint and color there with variation between thing to make the print look more realistic. But the flesh is basically all one solid tone, and it's not a great looking tone. Let me just quickly pull it up to full height. Also, mine has some errors on the leg, the right leg. It's got some, I don't know if it's discoloration or scud marks or whatever. And then it's got a split area right here, which is kind of horrendous. Just close up with the face. I mean, it's a nice looking face. My one problem with a lot of the DC faces, they all look kind of flat. So it looks like they're all really pushed in towards the center. Not a really full face, but in terms of articulation, we have a moving wrist, a single joint elbow, bicep joint, an arm joint that'll do all the usual stuff. The head's going to move, but it's going to be restricted by the hair. In particular, this lock right here has a tough time getting over the shoulder, but you can do it. Then, of course, it can look down, but it really can't look up, because the hair restricts it. No waist joint, but it has a upper torso. Of course, the upper torso only rotates. It does not go back and forward or so forth. Kind of a disappointment, because with these tall characters, you kind of want them to lean in, but that means you have to lean in entirely with the legs, and the legs aren't really balanced well. See, the whole leaning in pose is just really just to make the character look imposing, as opposed to the other ones. They have to stoop down just to be on eye level or so forth with your other hero or villain. So like I said, it's like a ball joint or something here, but loincloth almost completely restricts motion. Doesn't go forward, doesn't go far back. It's really thick rubber. Doesn't go that far out either. I mean, kind of get it to go out, but not really doing. There's a calf joint here that rotates. It's right above the knee. Then, of course, single joint knee. Then at the foot you have, slash ankle, you have a point of articulation there. And then it'll rotate. All in all, it's very tough to pose because the legs, at least on mine, are really loose. J-Train also reviewed this one, and he basically commented the same thing. That's just, the legs just really don't seem built well for this figure in terms of keeping the center of gravity really stable. But I mean, it's really an okay looking figure just for what it is. It's not spectacular, even by height wise, because this is a character that could grow, so she could be any height you choose. And of course, Mattel chooses her to be a measly 10 inches tall. I mean, come on, what the hell's up with that? I mean, that's lameness. I mean, it's so lame it needs its own word, like lame-tasticula or astrolamica or something, but I mean, it just really feels like they phoned this one in. I mean, I have the Gorilla Grodd, which I think is pretty cool. Although I think even like the Gorilla Grodd, I mean, it's something that they probably should have just released as like a special figure instead of like a full build-a-figure. Or at least if they're doing that, like something that size, it shouldn't take like a full wave to assemble it. Or like you should be able to collect some of the figures in the wave, but not the entire wave to build it. Like, I mean, even the frickin' Sentinel. I mean, this is pretty much one of the best things that Marvel Legends had to offer in terms of articulation. As, by the way, you know, she's only up to his crotch plate. Which actually sounds kind of dirty, but let's keep our minds clean here, folks. I mean, even he only really took 6 figures in the 7-figure wave, because both Mystique, which was an awful looking Mystique, by the way, and Omega Red had the same piece. So, I mean, it's just one of the things that they should really consider, I guess. I don't know, I think it's a problem I've had like with a lot of waves, just because some of the Build-A-Figures, I mean, it really seems like they go all out. Like, they had the Ares wave, which was, what, 8 or 9 figures, and it was just a normal-sized dude, who actually was a really cool-looking figure, too, which they should have just released in the wave itself instead of making it a Build-A-Figure. I mean, Build-A-Figures should be a certain size, which in this case she kind of is, but in addition to that, it should have a certain level of quality. It kind of sets it apart from the normal figures in the wave, which I don't think she quite meets. I mean, definitely the areas which have paint really look like they have some quality and care of taken, but the rest of it's just nothing impressive. And she basically just looks like a Barbie with a few attachments tossed on. But you know, other than that, I mean, she's basically the same sort of sculpt that you'd have like on a female character, maybe for a normal figure in the wave. But by the way, although it looks detachable and it feels loose, and this obviously is a separate rubbery plastic, it doesn't actually come off, or if it does, you would never get it back on. So I'm not even going to mess around with that or anything. Although the upper part doesn't really restrict anything, it's just the lower part. I mean, it kind of interferes with the hair up here. It's just the lower part prevents you from really doing anything with the legs, so I don't know. All in all, not the best use of $70. By the way, all of October slash, I guess maybe one day into like November was a pretty expensive month. I think I actually blew through maybe $500, $600. But it is my first year of collecting, so some months are going to be kind of expensive. But all in all, I wouldn't suggest that you get this unless you're planning on getting the wave, which actually had a bunch of cool ones like Gentleman Ghost and so forth. But yeah, all in all, until next time, folks.